Today I'm going to make my low carb maple donuts, and they're maple glazed donuts. And I am Melissa Carr. I am the creator and owner of Low Carb with the Cars. I have my page on Facebook, Low Carb with the Cars. I also have my site, lowcarbwiththecars.com, and that's CARRS. I also have my group, Low Carb with the Cars Community, where I have my spice mixes in the files there, the recipes. I also have my VIP list, which is where you get special exclusive recipes that I don't publish on my site or in my books, because you know I've written 2 books already. I have 2 of them, quick and simple low carb recipes. Actually, this is my first cookbook, Quick and Simple Low Carb Recipes. This contains both of the recipes for the ingredients that we'll use in this. One of them is my low carb mock maple syrup. I actually make my own low carb maple syrup to use in this. If you purchase your maple syrup, it would probably work, but I'm not totally sure because sometimes the ones at the store are a lot thinner than mine. Mine's a little bit thicker, so that may make a difference in the recipe. So not only we're going to use the low carb mock maple syrup for my first cookbook, Quick and Simple Low Carb Recipes, which you can get a copy for yourself on my site, lowcarbwiththecars.com. Just hit the menu bar shop, and then there's a category of cookbooks, and it has both of them in there. This one's only available in digital for $9.99, which is totally fine. I mean, you have a PDF file, right? You could take it and print it or print it at home. And so it has all my recipes in there. We're also going to be using my recipe for my keto copycat brown sugar, which you can use that, the one I make, or purchase some as well. So both of those recipes are in here, and those are ingredients that I'm using in the donuts today. And the donuts are very moist. I made them yesterday, and then I put them in a container, and they just sat on the counter, and they're still very moist. Hopefully this will get you all excited about making these in your kitchen. So let's get started. I have my pan ready to go. My silicone donut pan. Silicone's the best. I actually have this non-stick one, and it doesn't matter how much you grease that thing. It is so hard to get those donuts out. Get a silicone one. You'll see. They're just going to fall right out. You won't even have to grease it. And then I have 2 bowls. One for my dry ingredients and one for my wet ingredients. So let's get started. First, I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients. I have my almond flour. You want to get the extra fine almond flour. No little skins in there. You don't want the skin that's going to make them fall apart. Don't want that. So we have the almond flour. I have some coconut flour, just a little bit. Now, having that little bit of coconut flour helps to retain the moisture and help hold it together, because coconut flour really soaks up a lot of moisture. I also have my sea salt and baking soda. We're not using baking powder, we're using baking soda. All right, get that in there, and that is all for our dry ingredients. It comes together pretty quick. All right, I whisked up the dry ingredients. Next, the wet ingredients. We're gonna have 2 eggs, and I actually had them, if you guys saw my brownie recipe, I talked about putting the eggs in warm water. Well, that's what I did here. I put them in the warm water, and what it does is it helps bring them to room temperature. Now, not boiling water, but just hot tap water, and what it does is it makes them more viscous, is that the right word? To where they're not as thick. So I get these 2 eggs in here, and that really helps a lot to have them either at room temperature, or if you put them in the fridge, like most of us do, just warm them up while you're getting the rest of the ingredients together. 2 large eggs. All right, and then we also have some heavy cream. Put that aside. Some heavy cream we're putting in there. Again, we're putting all these wet ingredients together. We're going to mix that first. All right, heavy cream, we did that, and then, oh, here we go. This is my maple syrup, my keto maple syrup that I made, and as you see how thick that. Got the maple syrup in there. Next is butter. We're having melted butter. You can use coconut oil if you're dairy free, and then of course for the heavy cream use coconut milk. So if you don't do dairy, there's the option of switching it out with coconut milk and coconut oil. And then vanilla. Lovely vanilla. You want the true vanilla. It makes a big difference versus the imitation. The imitation, I understand, is less expensive or less in cost, but it's worth it to get the real vanilla. So let's whisk all this together. Now, because I had my eggs at the room temperature, it's not coagulating and hardening my butter, melted butter that I put in there, so my melted butter stays melted that we want and that liquid consistency. So all I do is just whisk this up here, whisk this up really good. All right, see, super easy. Everything's warm and room temperature. I'm gonna pull my sleeves up a little bit more. All right, so while I am whisking, which is a mix of mixing and whisking. So while I'm whisking, I'm going to slowly add my dry ingredients. Now, this helps to keep the lumps down, and it makes everything go smoother anyway. If you dump it all in there, it's highly possible you might get some lumps. And this thickens up so quickly. Uh-oh, I got a little bit stuck in there. Alright, so I'm going to do that. Now you see it comes together quickly. Whisk it really good. Get you a good whisk. Could you use a hand mixer? Maybe. You know, how did I get these muscles if I wasn't hand mixing everything, right? So here, you can see how it turns out, and it thickens up pretty fast. That coconut flour really soaks up all that liquid. Alright, so we're done with that. Alright, let's pipe this bag. Now, here it is, my piping bag, and I fitted it with the round end. I'm just going to roll this back and put my hand underneath and kind of fit it around my hand a bit. Now, if you don't have a piping bag and you want to make this and you're thinking, oh, I got to wait till the piping bag gets here. No, you don't. No, you don't. Just get a gallon size Ziploc bag and use the corner of the Ziploc bag. I did that yesterday, and today for the video I figured I'd be fancy and use my piping bag. So I'm using my scoopy thing here, but I'm just getting this all scooped in here. And the good thing about that silicone donut pan is you don't have to grease it. Don't have to grease it or worry about it at all. So I'm going to get all this dough in here, and then I'll show you. Alright, now we're going to pull this up. Like I said, you can use the corner of a gallon Ziploc bag. It would work just the same. So after we get these in the oven, which I already have my oven preheating to 350 degrees, fold those corners down and then roll it. But I should get 6. Here we go. Boop. Boop. Say the boop. Gotta say the boop. Boop. Oh, being silly. Alright. Crossing my fingers I get 6. I got 6 yesterday. Sometimes these things happen to where you get all to the end and you're like, oh no, I don't have enough. And a little extra actually. So let's do this, get a little bit extra, use up all the batter here. And boy, does it smell good. But I'm going to bang it on the counter and maybe even just lift the pan up a little. But I want it to be as evenly as possible so they cook evenly. And voila! Donuts! Yay! I'm going to put these in the oven for 20 minutes. Donuts are done. So we're going to get this glaze going. They've been cooling for about 5 minutes now. If you see, they're just slightly golden, and you could tell they're not gooey, which is what you're looking for. You don't want them too brown, just enough. And then I'm going to show you, I have a cooling rack, and I'm going to turn it upside down on top of it, and then I will flip it over. Alright. Now what I have done, since I flip them upside down, and I have it on another cookie sheet, because whenever you pour the glaze on, we're going to pour it over it to coat it, and then do that. So I'm going to show you guys how, I didn't grease it at all, I just put them in there. I'm just going to peel it right off, very carefully of course, just kind of shake it a little as I do it. And you guys, the silicone pan is so perfect. Look at that. Magic. So yeah, it's just nicely golden on the brown. You saw the top earlier. So we're gonna let these finish cooling while we make our glaze. So, but definitely have it on the cooling rack and in the pan underneath. I have in it some butter. Put it on the small one here. I'm just gonna turn it on low to get started. And I'm gonna use my whisk. Let's see, I'll turn it about medium because we're wanting it to melt, and then we're gonna bring it to a simmer. And it reminds me of like the Texas chocolate sheet cake where you make the icing and then pour it over and then wait and then it hardens, that kind of thing. All right, so we have the butter in there. Also have my keto maple syrup that I make. This recipe is in my first cookbook that you can check out. But it's thicker than the ones you buy at the store. All right, let's get that maple syrup in there. All right, lots of mapley taste here. So we got the butter and the syrup. We also have some heavy whipping cream. I'm just gonna put this all in there while it's heating up. Again, I have it on about medium. All right, and we're also going to be using some vanilla, real vanilla, right? 1 teaspoon of that. And then I went ahead and kept, we're gonna do a teaspoon of that. I'm just putting everything in here right now while it's warming up. All right. I actually make up this ahead of time. It makes about a cup to a cup and a half from the recipe in my first cookbook. We are going to be putting in 2 tablespoons of that. Okay, 2 tablespoons, and I'm gonna pack it. Now if you get the Swerve kind or Trivia or whatever you want, which you can get that too, but I make my own. I really like making my own stuff, you guys know. My spice mixes and everything else. All right, so we got that in there. And then our last ingredient is the confectioner's erythritol, which I got the Anthony's brand. I just put it in the container of my own. And I actually got a question about what's the difference between this and Swerve. It's the same, but then someone said, oh, wait. There's actually something in Swerve called oleosaccharides or something like that makes it different. But I think myself, my particular taste, I think the Swerve kind of has a funny taste, and I like this one. This one is just pure erythritol, and it's powdered. It is a little bit see, here we go, starting to heat up. I get that stirred here. It does get a little bit clumpy, but it works fine. So I'm going to do 3/4 of a cup. And then we'll see if we need more at the end. Yesterday I added an additional 1/4 cup, but then I noticed this morning the icing was like really crunchy and falling off. So we may just do the first amount. But I actually got a question about if I could do different flavors with the donuts. Yeah, and you might. But the whole idea with the maple syrup in the donuts is for the moisture. So maybe you could use some of the low carb honey. You know, that was an idea that I had somebody put on their chocolate syrup. That might be good. Now, everything's coming together really nicely. It's like a light brown caramel color. And what I'm going to do, it does have a little bit of lumps from the erythritol, the confectioner's, the erythritol that we use. So we want to make sure it's nice and smooth. We're doing the glaze, and it does melt very easy. But the idea is you have your donuts ready. So we put them on the cooling rack and have them all ready to go before you start the glaze, because the glaze will harden quickly and you do not want it to get hard in the pan while you're waiting. Now that's a nice consistency, because let's see, I'll show you how. See how it's just kind of a little bit drippy, but what happens is when it cools it will harden up. Everything is all well incorporated. They are best the day you make them. All right, let's get these glazed here. I do a couple of them. I hope you can see. Do it in a way where you can see, but I just kind of do it in a circle pattern around the golden part at the top, and it'll just naturally fall on the inside. But you want to do it quickly, because even right now it's already starting to harden up. I'm going to do it quicker. Quick. like I said, follow the golden brown top to the donut, and it will coat the inside and outside well. And you have just enough for the 6 donuts. Oh. Trying not to have it harden up on me too quickly. See that? Hardens up pretty quick. I'm gonna scrape it, get that last little bit. So you're gonna have probably 3 or 4 really nice looking ones and a couple of them that still look great. They still taste great too. Put them up there and show you how they already have started to harden. Do you see here? How it's kind of a little bit of my finger, but it's already started to harden. Do you see how it drips down? Definitely a work of art. You don't know how it's going to turn out on the actual icing part of it. It turns out great. Okay. And these, you guys, are so perfect. Look. And the icing and the smell is great. That maple extract really is so close to real maple syrup. A whole lot more than the Mapleine one. Mapleine that I've seen at the store is another maple extract that kind of has a weird, a little bit aftertaste. It also has caramel color added, and this one is not caramel colored. Like I said, it's from the Trim Healthy Mama website. There you guys go. Thank you so much for all of your support. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a great rest of your weekend.